What class you looking for? What was it? Cocoa Heads. Upstairs in room 213. Brandon White will be presenting. Yes. No, 213. Yeah, they're up there. And hopefully Brandon's here by now. Okay, you mind telling them up there? That'd be great if you could tell them that. Thanks. All right, was everybody able to check in? If you weren't, let me know and I'll get you hooked up. If you don't have a smartphone, I can print out your QR code and we can do it that way. So we'll just do that to check in each week to make it a little quicker. This is generally going to be set up for you when you come to class. Time frame for the class, it's a hybrid course, I believe, technically in the syllabus. And so we're going to meet from 6 to 8, and then from 8 to 10 will be lab time in here, or you can hang out and do your homework or do your coding, or you can head out and do it at home. You don't have to hang out here if you don't want to. Make sense? Tonight's going to be an introduction just to get you started. I believe in the bookstore they might have had a book for you to purchase possibly, and if you did purchase one, it is a good reference. I will not be using it that much. It won't be a required textbook for us. So if you've not yet purchased your text, you don't need to. If you have, keep it. It's a good reference. There's nothing wrong with the text at all. And one of the things we're switching here on campus this semester, actually, we're starting next semester, we've been using Dreamweaver in this class for code, for web design, for managing code, and starting like next semester, we won't be having CS here at all in the computer. So we're looking at different platforms to use for design management of websites. And I've chosen to use the first couple weeks anyway, the Cloud9. Cloud9 is an online repository that hooks up with a source control called GitHub. We're not going to be required to use GitHub, but if you already use GitHub already for other things, you can connect it. All the examples I'll be using the next 2 weeks will be from my GitHub account. And what Cloud9 is all about is it's a online IDE. So it's basically like an online development environment that's more robust than Dreamweaver because you can actually code in, I believe it is 15 languages, and it also has a built-in Apache web server and MySQL backend that we can use as well. And what we do in here, and we play with each week, the first 2 weeks, you'll be able to play with at home and even on your mobile devices as well. You can even code on your mobile devices. So if you have a tablet or even your phone, I've used my phone before, you can even code on those as well if you bring up the C9 website. And so C9's been out for a number of years. More than likely, most of you hadn't heard of it before, but a lot of developers use it. About 100, went up about 120% the last couple years. It's roughly about 750,000 developers use C9 now. And what's great about it is, because it's in a dev environment, you don't have to worry about the back end stuff. I know some of you have used Dreamweaver already, right, for your other courses here. There's a lot of back end stuff, to put it nicely, that Dreamweaver puts in code for you. And you have to kind of like figure out, do I need it, do I not need it? I was a web designer for about 8 years. All I used was Dreamweaver, so I'm not against Dreamweaver. It's just, in years recent, they've made it more bloated with code injection, basically, to where they'll inject code like CSS, things of that nature. And again, it's not a thing you can't figure out, but it's just one more hurdle that takes time away from learning. And so a lot of design houses still use Dreamweaver, but a lot of them don't, because there's other platforms like C9 out that allows you to use an online environment. Now, one of the questions I asked you in week 1, we'll go over the layout for the class here in just a second, but each week you'll have a discussion. One of the questions I ask you is, what's the positives of using a cloud development environment, and what's the negatives? There's negatives too, for sure. But just like there's negatives with Dreamweaver and using CS, because CS is now all online now too. It's all on the web and using cloud repositories, so everything's that way. And one of the downsides to using the cloud is it's on the cloud. So if it's down, you don't have access to it. And so that's where GitHub comes in. That's how I use it, because GitHub is a repository to where regardless if C9 is up or not, I still have my code, and I can go into GitHub to make changes if I need to. And then the way GitHub works, if you've never worked with source control, and we'll actually play with it a little bit the next couple weeks, actually next 3 weeks, show you how to use it. I won't be requiring you to use GitHub, but I'll heavily encourage you to use it, because it's something as a developer you'll want to have, because of the whole premise behind source control is, and GitHub is, your code can go everywhere you go, regardless of where you're at. And it can be synced to multiple devices and committed to multiple devices. So if I make a change on my laptop, I can commit it. If I make a change on C9, I can commit those changes to GitHub. And then anywhere I'm at, the master GitHub serves as my source files for all my projects, okay? And I'll show you some of the projects tonight that I work on, that I continually work on even now, and kind of show you what I do. And there will be opportunities between now and May to help in some of these projects that we're working. One of them is we're redesigning the Transform Rockford website using a Bootstrap theme. You've heard the Bootstrap theme if you've read anything about the stuff I posted thus far in week 1 and 2. And Bootstrap theme is one of the #1 tools that developers are using, because it's open source, constantly updated, and it's modified by millions of developers on a daily basis to make it more robust, more rich. And so 65% of new businesses getting websites are using Bootstrap now. It's something like 7 million websites are using Bootstrap. And Bootstrap's an awesome thing. You already know by now, being a 102, you know HTML, you know CSS, and so I don't need to start at the beginning rudimentaries in 102 for this class. So what Bootstrap does, it basically takes everything you know already, gives you a foundation to start really doing some cool stuff with what you know, and manipulating code just for what you need it to be manipulated for and nothing else. And so that's the beauty of Bootstrap. And so the structure, introduction, the syllabus we're updating, so the link to the syllabus I took off of that because it's kind of in flux right now. But basically we're going to be going over this 8 weeks. We're going to be doing the first 2 weeks in Bootstrap and in Apache MySQL using Cloud9 to do it. And this week is just an introduction week that we'll go over some of the things you'll be doing. Next week you'll be doing quite a bit of reading on C9 and taking a little quiz online, like a 25 question quiz. You have to reach, I think, 70% or higher or something, and that's it, just so I know you understand what it's all about. And then you will be creating or selecting your first Bootstrap theme in week 2 to select from. There's tons of them to choose from, and I'll give you the opportunity to choose a Bootstrap theme to play with. We'll be creating workspaces in Cloud9, and the workspaces, if you're familiar with what, MAMP, I'm guessing most of you in here, MAMP and XAMPP, those 2 platforms. Anybody heard of those 2 platforms? MAMP and XAMPP are a development platform to run Apache and MySQL on a laptop, basically, or on a desktop, to where you're running your website locally, all right? We'll be doing that very same thing this 8 weeks, using Apache MySQL a lot, but it'll be using Cloud9 to do it. Instead of Dreamweaver does give you the opportunity to set up a MySQL PHP environment, but it's local to that computer, and it takes in this room, the last time I taught in here with it, about 5 to 10 minutes sometimes to get it up and running, which is a nightmare. And so the beauty of C9 is it's up and running all the time. And so you can test it at any time you want to, anywhere you want to. You don't have to come in a classroom to do it. And so let's go ahead and start with week 1 on the structure of Cloud9 and what we'll be doing in week 1 and week 2, give you a peek view into that. Down at the bottom of the site is a Cloud9 resource link. In fact, if you click on that Cloud9, if you click on this link that has the arrow on it, it should open you to the new tab in your browser. And one of the first things you'll be doing is setting up an account on Cloud9, and it doesn't take just a minute to do. Some of you might have already done that. And creating what's called workspaces. You can see on the overhead, I've got a number of workspaces that I've already created for what we'll be doing. Web102 was one that I just forked over, cloned over from GitHub. I'll show you what that one looks like real quick. And this is being recorded, by the way, everything we're doing here, so you don't have to feverishly take notes. I am recording what's happening on my screen. It'll be posted in the module for this week after the class is done. So probably before you get home, the link will be there for you. So as you can see, it's not a fancy editor, but it does give color coding. It does give syntax color coding to your HTML, CSS, things of that nature. And so this I've got here on the left side is my website. It's a Bootstrap website I've uploaded. And one of the cool things it lets you do is I can run this project within C9. And what it's going to do is start the Apache server you see down here. And actually for Bootstrap, I actually don't need Apache, but I'm just showing you how it works for when we start using PHP code and creating forms and stuff. So Apache is needed for PHP to run PHP code, but I'm just showing you how it works on this environment. And once I start it, you'll notice it said stop here on the overhead, the little stop button. If I click preview and run it, it now is going to show that website. And I can click on this little icon here that pops it out. And so this is a Bootstrap theme I edited, basically. It took me about an hour to edit it. And you'll notice it has my name, it has find out more, goes right to the second section. And Bootstraps are real popular in the fact that it's a one-page site that uses CSS to go to different divs within that page to make the page fast to load, number 1, easy to update, number 2, and easy to modify as far as post-session and things of that nature. So I have in here a little bit about myself, and then I click Get Started. It goes to what services, stuff I'm into, teacher 20 years, speaker, conferences, coder for mobile web and Windows developer, technologist, which is a new buzzword you might have heard of in the last couple of years. Technologist, basically just all things geek, basically anything technology-wise you're into, which most of you probably are. And then below here is projects. As you hover over these windows, they're actually images using CSS that does a hover over that's built into the Bootstrap. And I'll go ahead and click on one like, let's go to my personal site. Click on that. And what it's going to do is load up my personal site, which uses WordPress and a Bootstrap theme for the WordPress site. You'll see it kind of load up slowly here on campus, but it'll eventually go into a full view of a Bootstrap. It does this first, a lot of websites they're doing now is a big, nice image that rotates a couple images about what that site's all about. But that captures people's eyes. Like I'm into RBC Hour of Code. I teach once a week or once a month to the public, and all my classes now have are free of textbooks. I've developed textbooks for all of my classes, and so those are two things I'm highlighting on my site. But also if I click on this little down arrow here and just click on it once, you'll notice it goes right to some other boxes is what they're called in Bootstrap that I can point to whatever I want to. Like I have apps that I've published onto the App Store. This is another Bootstrap I created where I can go to different apps that are actually on the App Store. And you'll notice how fluid the site is when I click on these links. It's like super fast. And then if I want to go back to the start, I can click on my Conkle apps, come back to the start. But all one page, all going to different locations using CSS. I'll go back to the main page here. And one of the reasons is you'll notice how it kind of loads slowly. In the CSS, you can actually control the loading mechanism to load faster or slower. They've proven in studies that when things load a little slower, but things are loading in, people want to stay to see what's going to show up. So, you know, they've actually had studies where they've had people in a room and see a web page load, but stuff's coming in. They like to see that, oh, the stuff's moving, it's dynamic in nature. The articles that are posted in this, you'll notice as they fly in, as I go down further on the site, they're not available until I actually reach that focus area on the browser. And again, all this is using CSS for everything. So let's go back. So again, as I pop over all these, it'll go to a separate site for those. These are sites I'm actually working on continually, like the Hour of Code we do here on campus, robotics with telepresence robots, faculty training, app development, mobile app development. And then I have a CSS button here that goes to our RVC site that we're using here on campus. When we click on that, it goes to our public page for our Web102 course. It also has at the bottom of the site, if you click on the contact, three what they're called as fave icons, FA icons. And let me show you that real quick. It's kind of cool. These are really powerful, these fave icons. I put the URL in the code for you guys to look at. I know some of you are already probably looking at my code, possibly, as you're going in there. But as you get down to the bottom of the site on the HTML, index.html, there's, let's go to, like, say, the one for phone. So let's look at the phone, what it looks like right now. So see the phone icon, the email icon, and the chat icon? Those aren't images anywhere on my site, nowhere on my site. They're actually called, they're icons. They're awesome icons, font awesome icons, FA icons is what it stands for. But I embedded in here the URL that we'll be playing with this in the 8 weeks, so you'll be having time to play with this. I put in here the URL to it. Let me see here. In fact, I think I might have put it in my other one. Do I know? Yeah, because I merged this a couple times. I might have deleted the one that was in there. What line was it? Yeah, I took the URL, but what I'll do is I'll just do this. I'll just Google it. It's pretty simple. I'll just do a FA, and you know, as soon as I type in FA, you start seeing FAs pop up. I'll do FA font. And it'll bring you to the very first link, which is a font awesome page. And here you can actually begin to search for icons, like I'll do email. Okay, there's the email icon that I used right here. And all you put in the CS in the code tag is that code for the FA envelope, which is this icon, which is this line of code right here. So this iClass FA envelope gives me that icon. What's even awesome, really cool about it is not only can I use that icon, but it also is using different features of that icon. Like this one does a bounce feature, a wow bounce feature, and it's 3 times. So it's 3 times the normal size, FA3X, wow, bounce in. And that's what the action is going to happen to that icon when the page loads. So let me show you that on the site again so you can see it. And again, most people aren't, new developers aren't aware of these tools that are out there for you. So let's go to the so I'm going to go down to the contact area and let's watch it real quick. Boom. You see how it kind of popped in and shook? Same did the access now. Those are all FA icons, font awesome icons. Anyone can use them. You do need to have some CSS hooks in your code, which you'll learn about this 8 weeks we'll be playing with it. But there's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of font awesome icons. What's nice about them is they render to any device, whether it be laptop, desktop, or mobile. Okay. The CSS will also render. So if I come in here and make this site on purpose a little smaller in nature, width-wise, like maybe making it like a phone width, you'll notice how it automatically begins to render that page automatically, including the the font awesome icons, all done with CSS. Now again, there's some manipulation I did, and you'll be able to do as well. But the basic tools or the foundation is there for you to begin with. And so pretty awesome, right? That's why I call it font awesome icon. So if you just remember FA awesome, it'll go right to the site, but I've got links and steps how to do that we'll play with. One of the things with the Cloud9 I just showed you is over here on the share button, when you create your sites, your work sites, it gives you the opportunity to send an email to anybody that can become an editor, just play the application, or just run the files. And when you click on this, basically you'll learn there's different read-write access things you can add in here. But if I just put a person's email here and send it to them the way it is right now, they'll have full admin rights to this project, and they can collaborate with me immediately. So if I'm at midnight and I need to roll out something at 6 in the morning, which happens a lot in website design, and I need somebody to help me, I just send them a link. They go right to the C9. They're in. They could be in California, India, Florida, wherever, and make a change, save it, and it's ready for me to view immediately. And so there's no other platform actually that does that right now. And what's great about this is it's totally free. It doesn't cost anything. There is paid tiers you can get into, but for what we do, you're not going to need it. And what I do on a daily basis, I don't pay for the service as well. But there are folks that do. So what do you guys think so far of C9? Cloud9 is pretty awesome, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot into it, but let me just show you real quick, because we're just playing around tonight on the intro. Let me show you I'm going to go to my dashboard, show you the different workspaces you can create with Cloud9. If I go down here to the bottom, and some of you already did this. I think some of you already submitted week 1 stuff, so I think whoever was that submitted, a couple of you did it in HTML5, I believe, which is fine. So when you click on the HTML5 type project, it basically, you hover over it, it tells you what it is. It's an HTML and CSS using Apache web server, meaning, and static web pages, meaning it can run PHP files as well. The one thing it doesn't have in the HTML5 is MySQL. So the one we'll be using mostly is the PHP Apache MySQL one here, because it'll allow you to do PHP pages, HTML pages, CSS, MySQL database, Apache. We'll be able to do all of our Bootstrap stuff with it if we want to, all from Apache, PHP Apache server. The other, the custom is basically just that. It's just a blank Ubuntu installation, and that's what this is built upon, by the way, is Linux Ubuntu. Some of you are familiar with Linux, possibly. Linux is still the #1 web server when it comes to websites. 76% of websites are built upon and hosted on Linux web servers, using Ubuntu. Red Hat is the top 2. You say, why is Linux used so much? I'm glad you asked. Linux is used so much because the uptime is so much greater than Windows servers. you can create a Linux server like Ubuntu, set up your site right, put your files in it, unplug the keyboard, mouse, monitor, just make sure it's hooked to the network, and put it in a corner and just let it sit there for years. It never get a virus, it will not crash, it just sits there and does its stuff. It's built much differently than Windows as far as servers go. And any of you who've worked with servers or even Windows operating system know it needs restarted every once in a while. It runs out of resources. Not to say you can't run out of resources on Linux, but it's much less susceptible than in Linux server platform. So Linux server, it's using Ubuntu. And by the way, if you've never played with Ubuntu, just a little, if you have time this weekend, you have nothing to do, you can go on the Ubuntu's website, just Google it, and download your own Ubuntu ISO and burn it to a DVD and run a live version of Ubuntu on your laptop. And it won't hurt your hard drive, doesn't write anything to your hard drive, and you can play with Ubuntu, and it's what's called a live CD or live DVD. If you don't want to do that, go to Barnes & Noble, go to the Geek Rack where all the geek magazines are for like Photoshop, coding, all that good stuff, right? There's usually 2 or 3 Linux magazines. Every magazine that has Linux, like Linux.org magazine, has Linux distros in the magazine. The magazines cost about $10, but if you don't want to download and burn them, you can just go there and test out some Linux stuff. So custom is custom. You can load in and start adding in whatever, HTML mainly. What do you want over HTML5? Node.js is a fairly new popular environment for coding. Meteor, as well, is it's now on Cloud9. It's faster on Cloud9 because of Ubuntu. Meteor basically is app development for websites. It's its own code language. We won't be doing any of that. I'm just kind of showing you what all these are. PHP, Apache, MySQL we will be using as a workspace, and it's super easy to set up. You just literally name it, click on this button here, and say create workspace, and it creates it. Python, you might have heard of that. It's a popular web tool and web language for coding. The Django, same. Ruby on Rails, you might have heard of that. That's a popular language as well. C++, it even lets you render C++ apps. I haven't told Nelson about this yet, but I did tell Eric about it. So you can actually don't even need a C++ environment anymore. You can just load it right here on C9 and run your C++ app. Anybody take C++, by the way? 1 or 2 of you? Okay. So instead of having to compile it in your compiler, you just do it online. And then WordPress. Anybody heard of WordPress or taking a WordPress class? You can. I'm not using WordPress in this class, but hey, if you want to create a WordPress site, there it is. You can create your own WordPress site and start playing with it. Built into it, and it'll set up within a minute, and you're up and going. And then Rails tutorial. There is tons of tutorials on here, by the way. I'll go to the 9 icon and go over here to the one of my pages, the one I just opened. When you open up any of your workplaces or your sites, there's a support link, and the support link is really pretty rich. Like I'll go to the read documentation. And you'll be doing this next week, by the way. You'll be doing some reading and at the end of this week and next week on how to set up Cloud9 and all that good stuff. But tons of tutorials on how to get started. At the very bottom, it goes over, if you're interested in any of the languages I mentioned too, it even shows you how to start not only writing but installing these languages and playing with them. So if you want to like create a simple hello program in every one of them, you can do that, like an hour, go through them all. Then it has how to set up all the different database types that are available. We'll be using MySQL only, so we won't be using anything else in here, but there's other ones in there popular, like MongoDB is popular, Cassandra's popular, SQLite. And then all these tutorials are available for you to go through on your own. Everything from the Django, PHP, Bootstrap, AngularJS, down to if you're wanting to run your own WordPress site, has a tutorial how to do that as well. So all totally free to do and to use. So that's Cloud9 in a nutshell. It's a lot of stuff, I know, but it's real powerful. We'll be using probably just about 5% of Cloud9 in 8 weeks, mainly focusing on PHP MySQL, to where you guys will be able to learn how to create interactive forms, message boards. Also, one of the things you'll be doing is playing with Ajax in the 8 weeks. You'll be playing with PHP, Ajax, MySQL, HTML5. Oh, and the other one is a new kid on the block is bringing in video using only HTML5 with no plugins. So no Flash plugins, no extra drivers people have to download to a browser. All video driven from the browser itself. Show you how to do that. Because it's kind of cool to have a page, if it doesn't take up a lot of resources, that has a video running in the background. You might have seen those. I'll show you how to do that. So hopefully in the next 8 weeks, you'll learn stuff that I use all the time in developing. I'm constantly have about 8 to 10 projects going at any time, ranging from HTML5, mobile app development, PHP, Visual Basic with Windows programming. And so if you're interested in anything beyond what we're teaching in here and you want to get involved, let me know. I probably have a project I can say, hey, yeah, you can help me with this if you want to just learn. And so we'll be covering those pieces the next 8 weeks. What you'll be doing, the reason I have you start next in week 2, choosing a Bootstrap theme, is I want you're going to use that Bootstrap theme the last 7 weeks, and everything we do, you're going to add to that Bootstrap theme. It's going to be your personal website. You're going to add in all these bells and whistles that I've just talked about. So you'll have in there a MySQL database. You'll have in there message board. You'll have in there some advanced JavaScript. You'll have in there some Ajax. You'll have in there advanced CSS. You'll have in there embedded video in HTML5. I'll even show you how to create your own video or tutorials and convert it to HTML5 video, to where a lot of time businesses will do that because you can't find a canned video on YouTube or a canned video anywhere, so you have to create your own, whether it be how to do a website tutorial or an application tutorial. I'll show you how to do that with free tools that are out there available. And so by the end of the 8 weeks, you'll know how to use Cloud9, advanced CSS, JavaScript, PHP, MySQL, Ajax, and the HTML5 embedded code. And what we're going to do the last night is kind of showcase what you guys have done. We'll kind of like just go around and have you guys come up one at a time and kind of give some challenges and some successes you've had with the tools you've used. And what's cool about C9 is at the end of the 8 weeks, you continue to work on it. It's yours. You continue to work on your projects, and once you're ready for it to go live, you have all the code, and you push it to those websites that the live website is going to be pushed on. Make sense? And so, I've got literally hundreds and hundreds of websites that aren't live, but they're in the dev form that you will do the same as you continually develop. And so I'm guessing most of you, since you're taking Advanced 102, you're into web more than just for a novice. It's either for your job currently or you're wanting to go into it for the future as a career. One of the things I do here on campus is connect students to internships with local employers. One of those employers that is hiring 1 to 2 internships right now is PHP and in basic HTML, either one, is Lions LLC. They've hired about 8 of our students in the last 3 years. They pay for their internships. When I'm talking to pay, I'm talking $15 to $20 an hour pay. So it's not just chump change. It's really good pay. It's located at, they've just moved, and I believe it's on State Street now. It used to be the Iger Lab, but they moved to the State Street location. But it's a great company, and they just connected with me a week ago saying they're needing 1 or 2 interns. And they will train you with everything they want you to do. It'll be basically, they use a platform called Magenta, that they will send you to learn Magenta, and which is basically a PHP platform and an HTML platform to build all their web stuff. And then they send you to Chicago for 2 or 3 days to learn stuff. They work around your school schedule, and it's a great opportunity. And at the end of the internship, let's say you go through the summer and you're done with your internship, they will sit down with you and go, hey, what do you think? And if you like them and they like you, they offer you a full-time job. It's great. And the full-time job is good money. It's like really good money for this area. The money that they offer is much higher than getting a first full-time job in web in Madison or even Schaumburg. So if you're interested of what I just mentioned, anything of what I've just mentioned, shoot me an email and I'll connect you with their HR folks and get you started. Boom. You can actually start next week probably. I mean, that's how fast they are. So when I give them your email, the HR lady can call you tomorrow, and then she'll have you come in Monday and start working. I mean, that's how quick it is. And what's great about Lions is they work around your school schedule. So regardless if you're taking 1 or 2 or 3 classes and maybe you're already having other responsibilities, they'll work around that. And the hours, it varies. I've seen students work there when they first start 5 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours. It just depends on what you want to do, how much involvement you can do with work here at school and your other responsibilities. And so if you're interested, again, let me know. They're looking for 1 or 2, possibly 2 internships, and that's Lion LLC. The other thing I'll mention is internships come across my desk at least once or twice a month, really nice ones, and they always usually have to do with web stuff. So as those come up, you guys will be the first ones to hear about it before I post it on Facebook or Twitter. That's another thing I'll mention is if you're not already following us on Twitter and Facebook, if you'll go to myrbc.org and bookmark that on your laptop or your desktop or phone. This is our division site where we post all of our job postings, also announcements, things of that nature, stuff going on in division. We also have on the site, I'll show you, just recently added a Droid app for the CIS app. I know you got some Droid users in here, and I'll convert you to iOS probably at the end of the week, end of the 8 weeks, or at least get you to at least try it out. So you got a link here to the My CIS app for Apple. So if you have an iPhone or iPad, and then if you have a Droid phone or tablet, there's a Google Play Store link that'll install the CIS app onto your device. The other one you might want to download, it's only for iPads right now. If you have an iPad, is the College Memory Maze app. It basically has a little game at the front end, like a Flappy Birds game, and then it allows you to select courses that we offer here on campus in the CIS and web, and they even talk to advisors and stuff. So we use that really for outreach, but it'd be cool for you guys to promote it for us. That'd be awesome. But as you can see, the events, there's some events up here right now, like Career and Internship Fair coming up Wednesday. Actually, it was today, so you missed that one if you didn't go. The jobs, this was just posted today. There's 8 IT jobs available at Cary Foods in Beloit, which isn't too far from us, but 8 IT jobs that was just emailed to me today. And it was from a student that graduated from here on from RBC, went through all my courses. He posted the 8 jobs today and let me know about it first. So there's also 23 WFRs looking for an information technologist, all things IT, if you've ever been interested in TV stations and what they do behind the scenes. And it's a paid position as well. But that one is like a lot of hours. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, they said you'd be filling like vacations, sick people when they're sick, working weekends. So that would be like a lot of hours. But it's out there for you to look at. And so questions on that on the website. So make sure and avail yourself to that. So let's go ahead and click on week 1 inside of our course. There's 4 things we're going to go over and then leave with the next week stuff. The first one is a submit cloud URL assignment. This one basically just has you click on this link. It takes you to the C9 website, register, or actually takes you to a file, a PDF file, and has you do some things. So it says this course is going to use a free online IDE called c9.io. Register for that site. Sign up with your RVC email and select that you're signing up as a student. When you sign up, there's like 5 or 6 categories to choose from. Just select student. And then submit your URL in week 1 module that I just left of what your URL is for your site. Now I'll show you what mine looks like here. Mine is c9.io ChuCon is what mine ends up being. That's my site URL. Then you're going to read the docs area, specifically the getting started and articles under that, and then articles under the IDE components. There's a number of articles there, which when you download this PDF, these links are clickable, by the way. But I already showed you the support link. It's on that page, basically. There's the getting started and IDE components. And then I want you to create, some of you already done this, create a basic HTML page. There's a tutorial on this link here. And again, this link will be available when you download the PDF. Create a workspace using a custom template for this one just to use it. Add whatever HTML you want to that that's going to give your full name, class name, and a description of why you're taking the course. And you'll also, you will save that into the information here on the URL. Right here, where it says submit URL, that's from the steps. Okay. Reading for week 1. Well, any questions on that, by the way? If you have any questions, by the way, you can email me or whatever, see me after class, be more glad to help you. Reading, you're going to click on this link. It'll take you to that same PDF, complete the reading, and then describe what you think of Cloud9. Some of you have already submitted this one as well. Some good thoughts. Some of you are like, I never heard of it, but kind of, looking forward to using it. Week 1 assignment. This is going to be a really difficult one. Not. You'll open up that same PDF, follow the instructions on creating basic HTML. Here's where you'll submit the URL for your web page in this module. But it's the very same PDF we looked at on the first submit cloud URL. And then discussion this week for 10 points is what's the benefits of using Cloud9 when developing a website? What's the downside to using Cloud9 for development? So be thinking of both benefits and negatives, positives, or however you want to look at it. And then I want you to read everybody's and reply to at least 2 other people's posts. And so that's worth 10 points. Questions on that, on discussion or anything I went over so far assignment-wise? Then I put a little looking forward next week, Bootstrap sneak peek. Put some general information here I thought you'd find interesting. I've already mentioned that Bootstrap is the most popular HTML, CSS, and JS JavaScript framework for developing responsive mobile first projects on the web. Over 7 million websites use it. And this link here brings to some stats, which I think is pretty astronomical. Right now, they're at saturation-wise, we know of it says 7,369,211 live sites using a Twitter Bootstrap, according to the records. And if you click on that view website list, it actually gives you a list of companies that have said they're using it. And then this basically is websites using Bootstrap. This just gives if you hover over the radio buttons here, this is using scripting on the web to determine who's using their site by doing like a filter out on the web to see who's using their site. So on down further, give some more information you might find interesting. Right now, businesses, top 1 million sites, businesses are using Bootstrap. Technologies next in line, and then shopping next in line. Shopping, I think, is going to be a big boost in the next year with Bootstrap, because there's tons of Bootstrap themes being created and plugins for e-commerce that are going to help developers a lot. So avail yourself to that. That's just, if you're into stats, which I am, and most programmers are, they like to see numbers. It's kind of cool. And then it gives some of the features of Bootstrap is it ships with what's called a vanilla CSS, just a flat CSS, which has thousands of different functions. But its source code utilizes two most popular CSS processors, what's called less and Sass. Those are the number one and number two CSS sources that those 7 million sites use currently. So it helps you get started quickly. Doesn't mean you can't manipulate things. Inline CSS you can still do, manipulate CSS however you want to, but it's nice to have those millions of CSS divs available to you to do whatever you want to on any web page. One framework, many devices. Bootstrap is easy to scale. So like I showed you on my website, doesn't matter what the site is you're developing. You don't have to put any special coding in there to recognize responsive design. When it hits a laptop, it's responsive to a laptop. When it hits my phone, it responds to my phone and resizes everything. Resizes the navigation bar to a navigation horizontal to just 3 lines. Click on it to get the menu. All the images are resized, buttons are resized, all automatically. And then features on Bootstrap, because they have what's called extensions, they're allowed for like dozens of different elements, custom elements you can use, and what's called jQuery plugins. And I showed you the Font Awesome plugin as well that you can use. It's really cool. It's open source. If you're not familiar with open source, that means it's free to use, number one. But number two, it's literally contributed by developers like yourself and those that have been around for a number of years, like myself, that contribute to this source all the time in GitHub and help it be more robust and rich, which is awesome. And then I put a link here to the preview. Now, the way it works on the preview is on your site, just so you know, you'll notice it has the word preview in my link here, and I'll click on it to show you what it looks like. And this one I actually changed here recently, so I deleted the old one and didn't update the new link. There it is. That's what it should be. So let me change that link real quick while I'm in there, because I deleted the old Workspace and created a new one. And that's the nice thing too, is if you mess up on something and you don't like a Workspace, you can just delete it, or you can probably just keep it there. And that's probably what I should have done. I wouldn't have messed it up. I put a dash in the one that I deleted, the one I created, the new one, so this should work now. There you go. So when you go to share these for other people to look at, especially when we get into using PHP, one of the things you need to do is, I'll open up the one we'll be using. I'll be using for examples. I already clicked on this share icon to show you. The one you want to click on to give people to view that are non-developers is this files one, this preview link one. And if you click on it, you can open it or just copy it if you're emailing to somebody. I'll go ahead and open it to show you. Notice what happens when I go there. It just shows me the contents of the folder of all of my files. They're read-only, and so I have to just click on what I know the beginning home page is, which is index.html, and then the page loads, or the site loads. Make sense? And so if you wanted to send somebody that link, what I suggest is to view the site is to click on that files link, which is the last one, because you have editor, application, files, and the files link is the definition of it is you're just viewing files with this link. But click on the actual file that starts your page or starts your site, and that's what I would send a person to test, is that link there. That way they're not having to see all your files and figure out, well, okay, what's your home page? What's your home page link? That makes sense? Because the reason you want to do that is, especially when you get into PHP, if you're not in C9 and you're not, your server's not running like mine is right now, this is what they'll see. I'll show you. I'll stop it just to show you what it looks like if it's not running. That's what it looks like. No application seems to be running. And so if I try any of those other links, like say the middle one, the application link, that's what I'll get. All right. It'll start back up. It'll work if I click on this, start the server again, go back. Now it's going to work. Right? Does it make sense? So the preview one, though, works all the time with basic HTML code, which we'll be using the first couple weeks. It won't work, though, all the time unless the server's running if it's PHP code. All right? And that's the way it's designed to be. It's just for testing purposes. But you can actually test, a Bootstrap theme, which we'll be playing with this whole 8 weeks. You'll be able to send somebody a preview link of your Bootstrap theme, and they'll be able to view it from any computer or any mobile device. So when you click on your home page, which will be index.html, just send them that whole link. Does that make sense? And then they'll be able to, you'll know you have the right link if it has the word preview in the link in the URL. If the word preview isn't in the URL, they don't have the right URL to test. And you might want to do that during the next 8 weeks, is send this to your friends and family and co-workers, some stuff you're doing. And that's what I do with it, by the way. When I'm working on projects, I just send folks the preview link on on my Bootstrap theme projects, even on my PHP projects. I just make sure my PHP's running, right? I can be at home and just hit start, run, and then tell them to test it. And then when we're done testing it, I stop the server from running. And then that way, no one can look at it after that. And I kind of control when people can see my live site or not. And that's kind of nice to do, nice to have that control. And C9 allows you to do that. So that's a preview to next week. Now I'm going to go kind of get a sneak peek into week 2. In week 2's reading, you're going to be doing some W3 School stuff, which does some awesome resources on bootstrapping. And the way W3 Schools works, if you've never used it before, is it has a lot of what's called try it yourself stuff, which in this one goes over the basic Bootstrap tutorial. But if I click on this try it yourself, I can manipulate this Bootstrap, because it's in this one here, it's linking a style sheet, a Bootstrap style sheet, a jQuery, and an Ajax jQuery, and another jQuery for Bootstrap. So 3 of them it's bringing in. As I scroll down, here's the actual code inside of divs. So you can render and change the text, change the font, do whatever you want to with these live results through W3 Schools. It's really nice. So you'll go through those. You'll do a lot of try it yourselves. You'll do basically all of these, which are just really simple. They're like maybe that long of reading and doing is all it is. But you'll do all the tutorial section you're going to do next week. You'll do the grids and the themes, which show you some of the nice basic Bootstrap themes. And then you'll do the quiz. The quiz is 25 questions, and I'm just requiring you to get 70% or higher and do a screenshot when you get that 70%, and then you'll submit the screenshot when you're done. So hopefully by the end of week 2 reading, you'll have a real good understanding of what Bootstrap is, how to use it, how to manipulate CSS, and all the bells and whistles with Bootstrap. And the reading on this, again, as I click on these, you can see, like if I go to like progress bars, that's a popular one. How do you bring in a progress bar into your site? There's the example right here. Right there's a progress bar, shows you how to bring in what bootstraps need to be brought in. And by the way, the bootstraps I'm highlighting are all the same for all bootstraps for the most part. But you'll notice it's using a div guess what? Called progress from the Bootstrap theme. Then you can tell it in here, you can say the value. It's at 70% right now. Well, I want to change it to 50% and see what this looks like. Then you got to change it here. It's at 70% wide. And let's go with 7% complete there. Let's go down further. So 0, 100, value now 50. Let's go down further. It's not updating for some reason. But anyway, probably my browser is messed up or something. But anyway, you'll be able to manipulate the code immediately to see the try it yourself within the code example. But it's literally like, if you look on the overhead, it starts out with a basic bar progress, and then a couple try it yourselves where you can add colors to it. You know, add these little candy stripes, which is real popular today. Animation, text within a bar, stack progress bar, and then they have tons of exercises to play with as well. So it's a lot of doing, less reading, really, the way W3 Schools works. But it's totally free, doesn't cost anything, and it's really gets you up to speed with CS9, I believe. C9 a lot quicker. Make sense? So that's week 2, not this week. And then you'll also be, in week 2, looking forward, you'll be selecting your own Bootstrap theme. There's a website called getbootstrap.com that allows you to select different pre-built bootstraps. The one I'm having you use is where it says the most popular place to find Bootstrap themes is Start Bootstrap. Other sites is expo.bootstrap. I have you go to the startbootstrap.com template categories, popular. I have you go right to the most popular ones that people use, and then you can scroll through these and decide which one you want to use for your site. So like this grayscale one, a lot of people like. It's nice and clean, and they give you a nice preview to look at. So I can do a live preview of this page. And it's running actually from a GitHub site. Boom. That's really nice. Really quick loading. So you'll pick in week 2 from the hundreds and hundreds of categories of bootstraps which one you like. You choose. Because I've known this teaching programming now for 20 years almost, that if you don't use a tool you like when you're learning, you might pass a class or a section that we go over, but you will not remember it and you'll never use it again if you don't use it for something constructive that means something to you. So you'll spend some time selecting a Bootstrap theme that means something to you. The colors you love, the layout you love, everything about it you love. That's what I want you to do. I don't want to give you a canned Bootstrap, which I could, and maybe 1 or 2 of you would like it, and the other would be like, I hate that, right? So you're going to pick your own out, and then that's going to be your foundation for the rest of the class the next 6 weeks. Make sense? So you'll spend time on week 2 doing that. I'll show you how to create your workspace, add your Bootstrap, and start playing with it. And then you'll just submit a base Bootstrap. You won't really make any changes. And then again, a discussion will happen there on week 2. By the end of week 2, actually by next Wednesday, I'll have the remainder of the weeks published for you. I know some don't like to show students everything to the end. I don't care. I'd rather just have you see things if you need to, if you want to jump ahead, if you want to look ahead, if you want to work ahead. I don't care. Make sense? Everything's going to be due when it's due on Sunday. So this week, everything's due Sunday night at midnight, 11:59. Week 2, the following Sunday, 11:59. It'll be the same all the way to the end. Starting in week 3, you will see, I'll have a guide for you in week 3 on what your final website will have, some components your final website will have. And we'll just kind of check those off as we go on through week 8. And on week 8, we'll come together. I'll buy pizza in here, and you guys will present your website and some challenges and successes you had. Make sense? Any questions? Yes? Yeah.
So when you pick a bootstrap theme,
Yeah.
so you can do like the layout, like
You can change the color. Oh yeah, for sure. You literally can change anything you want to on that Bootstrap theme. But I want you to pick one that's kind of out of the box, kind of the layout, the feel, the look and feel like you like. Maybe the feel's gonna be what you like, the look's not. Maybe the colors are wrong. You can change those. Color themes you can change. Yeah, good question. Yeah, because that's all done in CSS, and they've done. They have color themes that will change um, background of the form to the font color to link colors. You can change all of that. Yeah, you can control that.
My second question was that the link that you showed with the video link,
Yes.
if you share it with somebody who doesn't have a Mac account, it takes
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. They can still share it. Yeah, they can still load it on their computer. Yep. And so that's why you want to make sure it's a preview link, because otherwise it's going to have to be running on your computer in order for it to work. Good question. Any other questions? All right, well, play around with Cloud9, get it set up, finish up week 1 stuff, and then when we come to class next week, this will be set up already for you up here, the iPad will, to log in and to access. And then next week what we'll do is we'll go over Bootstrap. And what I'd like to do to just expedite the lab and the class time is if you could go over maybe the intro part of Bootstrap on the reading for week 2 before you come to class, that'd be excellent. So like the getting started part in the W3 schools that I have you read, get that read kind of under your belt before you come to class. That way you kind of better understanding of what Bootstrap is and how to use it. And then we'll have fun with it. Start next week. Start implementing. I'll kind of walk around next week and pick your brain on what Bootstrap you kind of like so far as you're looking at it next week in class. And then what I like to do is, you're not going to be pinned down your Bootstrap next week, but I'm going to kind of give you some tips to look for. It'll help you pick out your theme, because some of you probably, I'm guessing, like interactive stuff. Others of you are more on, I'm just really concerned about, I really like layouts to be really cool, or I like colors to be a certain way, or I like my buttons to act a certain way. There's certain themes or Bootstrap themes I know off the top of my head that might help you expedite your selection, right? Versus having to go through all of the Bootstrap themes that are out there. All right? So if you have any questions, come up and see me. Otherwise, starting next Wednesday, we will begin with Bootstrap and more resources with the Bootstrap, and the rest of the weeks 3 through 8 will be posted on Eagle. All right? We'll look forward to a great class.